Hey, what's up, everybody? Brett Mix here from Macho Wrestling 101. Welcome back to the Monday Night War. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying these reviews. I love pumping them out. This time on the WCW side, we look at it as Nitro beats Raw for the 64th week in a row. The scores were 4.6 for Nitro to Raw's 2.9. They won by a difference of 1.7, so big week for wrestling this week, except WCW just killed it in the ratings. So through 102 weeks in totality, Nitro has 83 wins to WWF's 17 wins and 2 draws. So this is the winning week of Nitro once again, week 102. This is the go-home show to Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc. The show went live on Monday, October the 20th, 1997, live on TNT from the Mississippi Coast Coliseum in Biloxi, Mississippi. We first see a shot of the backstage where the NWO are laid out as Bischoff shows up saying, "What is this?" as Savage and Hogan find a bunch of NWO members, including Kurt Hennig, laid out. There's a bat, there's a Piper t-shirt, and then there's DDP sprayed on the floor. So Bischoff calls for help, and they figure it's those three guys, DDP, Piper, and DDP, Piper, and Sting for Team WCW. Bischoff storms out of the entranceway. Hogan comes to the ring, storming mad. No entrance music for the NWO. Just Savage, Hogan, and Bischoff ready for revenge. Bischoff says that's the proof. Bischoff says, "Piper, you're scum. Sting, where you left your fingerprints. And DDP, your name is printed everywhere." Hogan says there's a cage here tonight as he points to the roof and there's a cage. So the crap stops here. Bischoff says, "Get them out here right now. Whatever it takes." Bischoff asks for Piper, but apparently no one showed up. Schiavone then got to the desk saying, "Wait, what a way to open up Nitro." And we open up with an even better way in the ring. Eddie Guerrero took on Chris Benoit for the WCW Cruiserweight title. Benoit comes to the ring with an ice-cold stare. Eddie comes out with a cool confidence. Benoit with a shoulder block and an arm drag takedown. Eddie Guerrero Irish strips him to the leapfrog after a fast chop variations. Nice standing switches. Eddie rakes the eyes with his boot. Benoit pancakes Eddie to the top rope. Then Benoit with a suicide dive taking Eddie out. A corkscrew head scissors back in the ring. Eddie had classics with Mysterio, Juventud, Benoit, Jericho all in the last 2 months, so he was in prime condition in this match. Benoit gets hit with a frog splash, and Eddie takes the easy win as Benoit injured himself when he hit the turnbuckle hard and never got back up. Eddie retained the title at 7-14, decent for what it was for these guys. Decent for these guys is still great for anyone else, so I give it 2.5 stars. They showed last week where DDP almost won the title, but Hennig got the official decision from WCW, and that belt is back in the hands of the New World Order. Next up, we have Bill Goldberg, the rookie, taking on Wrath. Goldberg comes out of a bit of a better reaction. I mean, they're not dead, the crowd, but the match that didn't go long. Wrath hadn't even addressed, and Goldberg got the win. Goldberg wins in 20 seconds to stay undefeated. 1/2 star for the dominant performance. Goldberg says to the camera his first words, and they are, "Who's next?" So Goldberg with his punchline really quick into his career. He's still undefeated. Mortis took on Steve McMichael. Mongo has go into Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc, wondering who his wife has going to present to him. There's a mystery. A reverse back elbow, then a spinning leg lariat, only for a near fall in this Powerman's match. Mortis slams him down and drops multiple elbows. Mortis sent him to the outside. The ref didn't see it due to Vandenberg, the manager. Mongo suplex from the outside apron to the middle of the ring. Steve hit Vandenberg, then Mongo hit a tombstone piledriver. He gets the win at 4:56, a decent Powerman's match. Deborah comes out and Mongo says, "I don't care what you have for me at Halloween Havoc." She says, "You've bitten off more than you can chew this time." Mongo then says he doesn't care what surprise is facing his way, and he kicks the steel steps in frustration. They do a vignette next on Raven, ending in a quote. He's sitting in the park, and there's a black and white shot of him, and he just quotes around saying, "Quote the Raven, nevermore." Walks around quoting that, I should say. Yuji Nagata takes on Juventud Guerrera. Raven stands around in the crowd as Juvi took it to Yuji Nagata. Applied the Nagata lock. Sonny Ono is being chased by the Ultimo Dragon on the outside. After the match, Yuji Nagata helped the Ultimo Dragon, but Sonny Ono locks up with him at Halloween Havoc. Nagata wins for the second straight week over Jericho, and now Juvi this week, 223. I rate the match a 1.5 stars. The Giant comes out and talks trash about Kevin Nash. Giant says Nash is hiding. He says there's only one Giant in pro wrestling, and you're looking at him. The Villanos and company get chokeslammed. Giant says this is how you do a jackknife, Kevin, and he beats on the jobbers. The Nitro girls come to the ring to dance, and that ends the segment. Disco Inferno defends the TV title against Rey Mysterio Jr. Springboard sent on from Rey to the Disco outside the ring. Eddie came to the ring and attacked Rey, tried to unmask him. Again, Rey wins it by DQ at 2:17 after the Disco Inferno lost, but not his title. No rating for that match because it ended in a no contest. Bischoff and the NWO come out and say the same things they did at the beginning of the show. They called DDP, Sting, and Piper cowards. Hogan referred to the cage above him, and he says there's nobody with any guts, and he yells, "Piper, come down." Nobody ended up coming down again, but the cage is still hanging in an ominous way. So later in the night, something's going to go down, and that's what you have to figure the high rating worked for, the 4.6 TV rating they got. You had to figure it's because of the suspense with the cage. Kurt Hennig defends the U.S. title against Dean Malenko. Kurt Hennig and Dean Malenko with such crisp moves performed by both. Malenko with a shoulder block, leapfrog, a crossbody, sending Malenko to the outside, but he holds on. Dean locks him in with a single leg takedown, then a drop kick. He kicks out of a submission move to the corner. Hennig limps, drops his body weight onto Malenko's leg. That hits the Hennig Plex for the win instead of the Perfect Plex. It's now called the Hennig Plex. Hennig retains the title at 9:48 after they appropriately call it a hard-earned win. I gave it 3 stars. Scott Norton versus Ray Traylor, a big power man's match, a big rematch from last week. Traylor threw Vincent out of the ring, but Scott Norton hits a big power slam. Scott flashed Norton with running shoulder tackles by Norton. Norton wins at 3:12 after Vincent came out on the apron and spray painted him in the eyes. I gave that 3/4 of a star. Conan comes in after the match as Hall and Hennig and attack Ray Traylor. Next up, we got Lex Luger taking on Booker T. Lex Luger body slams Booker, a very physical match here. Usually Luger picks up the big wins, but they were pushing Booker T well away from his brother, so it was an interesting matchup here. Lex with 3 running lariats after getting out of the long reverse chinlock. He signaled for the rack, but Booker held on to the top rope, moved out of the way, and hit the scissors kick. Booker with a side suplex. Booker with the Harlem Hangover, but he moves out of the way, so the somersault attempt didn't hit anybody, and he hit the canvas. Luger wins in the end at 6:30 after he racked Booker T. I gave that 2.5 stars. Luger cuts a promo after the match and talks about Zbyszko, and he refers to Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc and how he's going to be calling the match right down the middle. He's going to be partial, and there's going to be no worries there. Speaking of that match at Halloween Havoc, Scott Hall takes on Scott Steiner with Ted DiBiase. This is the main event. The Steiners had won a tag gold off Hall the week before this. Hall wanted a quick survey nonetheless, but he says that's one more for the NWO, even though the fans booed the hell out of the NWO and cheered WCW. Hall and Scott go back and forth. Scott Hall comes back with a poke to the eyes. He hits a waistlock suplex by Steiner. Hall turned around in his Steiner line, sends Hall down. Hall accidentally nails the official. DiBiase goes to wake him up, and Scott Steiner with a double underhook to Hall, and he pinned him with no official. Hall then gets up and hits the outsider's edge. Hall pins Scott and gets the 3 when a masked man comes out to count the 3. Hall wins in the end at 10:36. A great main event. I rated it 3 stars and a quarter. That does it for the wrestling portion on Nitro. After the match, Hogan, Bischoff, and Savage come to the ring for the 3rd time tonight. They end the show with the NWO in the ring. Hogan says he forgot how godly he was, and Hogan says he overreacted to those 3 cowards, but we'll get him this Sunday in Vegas. The crowd cheers. Sting comes in to the entrance, and then Page and Piper dressed as Sting to play at the end to the NWO. Doing this last week, it's actually Page and Piper dressed as Sting, just like last week when the NWO members came out dressed as Sting. Now it's the WCW members doing it. The cage lowers, then Sting, the real Sting, drops in from the rafters as the fans go nuts. Sting attacks the NWO with DDP and Piper all dressed as Stings as the cage lowers and the NWO and WCW go at it. Huge moment there to end the show as WCW gets payback on the NWO, this time dressed as Stings. Quality rise for Nitro out of 10. I rate this show a 7.5 because it had some great moments, matches. It was creative from the beginning to do a beatdown on the NWO with the WCW locker room and waiting till the very end in the cage, and to be dressed as Stings to get payback for the week before. Nice continuity there. They do a good job building the Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc as it is the go-home show, the promos, the matches. I think it deserves a 7.5 out of 10. That's it for this week's episode. I'm Brett Mix. Hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm out.